And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this third segment, we are going to talk about the Lakers' little predicament and due to recent LeBron signing and as well as just the fact that their team isn't really where they want it to be right now. So far in this offseason, there have not been any major moves that the Lakers have done. The only really major moves that they've done in free agency so far is re-signing LeBron James and Max Christie, as well as missing out on some not really picks, but missing out on some players in free agency and in trading. So, I mean, this is just a normal trend with the Lakers. This happens every single time. And as I mentioned before in the previous podcast, now they are in the second apron, which makes it even more difficult for them to sign free agent players, which is something that they really wanted to do. Now, there aren't really much options available for this team to get better, and the only real way that the Lakers can get better is by negotiating in trade talks. So the option, like in this article, it says, an option there seemed to be relatively limited as well, but an intriguing and familiar name is emerging as a possible trade target for the Lakers. Now, this player in mind is Jeremy Grant. As I mentioned previously, the Lakers are interested in pursuing this, the power forward, and he is a very solid pickup. I will definitely say that. But I have a feeling that the Blazers are going to ask for a little bit much, especially since they are the Lakers, to, until they are willing to accept this kind of trade. According to Michael Scotto of Hoops Hype, the Lakers have been interested in trading for Grant, who is also a representative by Clutch Sports. In addition to DeRozan, another notable player that the Lakers have interest in besides DeRozan is Blazers forward Jeremy Grant, league sources told Hoops Hype. Grant, represented by Clutch Sports Group with Lakers stars LeBron James and Anthony Davis, has shot 40% from the three-point line and averaged 20 points in the past 2 years in Portland. Grant's abilities to guard up to 4 positions is also intriguing for the Lakers. Now, again, this is a very solid pickup, right? But I do fear that it might cause the Lakers to trade a little bit more than they need to. And the Lakers being interested in Grant makes complete sense as he checks every single one of the boxes that the Lakers have to offer. A competent defender, again, competent, and by competent I just mean that he can guard the 1 through the 4, and a three-point shooter with, his 40% from the 3, that makes him a very lethal three-point shooter, especially, but here's the thing. One of the problems that I have with getting some of these players is that they put up good stats on bad teams. And not only that, they put up these good stats on low market teams. This is a pretty similar story with Kemba Walker. Kemba on the Charlotte Hornets, he was putting up great numbers, but he was on a relatively bad team. But when he was put on a good team, his numbers just decreased, and his bad performances were highlighted even more. And so I have a feeling that this is going to be the same story for the Lakers if they do end up getting Jeremy Grant. The lights, obviously, they're going to be much brighter in LA, and there's going to be a lot more pressure on Jeremy Grant to perform. To perform and to play well and meet the expectations, especially considering what the Lakers might have to give up in order to get somebody as talented as Jeremy Grant. Now, he could feasibly slot into the front court next to LeBron and AD and make a big impact on both sides of the floor. Put him at small forward, then put LeBron at the power forward, and then put AD at the center, or flip-flop the positions, put LeBron at small forward, put Jeremy Grant at power forward, however you want to put it. They could really either play the small forward or the power forward. It doesn't matter. And he could, technically shoot very efficiently with both of those guys on the court. And now the problem is that a deal would most likely have to include D'Angelo Russell, maybe Jared Vanderbilt, and Gabe Vincent or even Roy Hachimura, and those are some really important names and some important players on the Lakers. And if you'd have to give up either D'Lo or not really Jared, but Roy, I would see that as a major problem. I would rather give up D'Angelo as opposed to giving up Roy. However, the Portland Trailblazers, I do think that they are more than, I think they're totally fine in the guard department, and they wouldn't really have any interest in D'Angelo Russell. Now, Roy Hachimura and maybe even Jared Vanderbilt might seem like a pickup that makes more sense, because they would essentially be getting a couple of bigs in exchange for a power forward. Now, there would be a lot of discussion about the Lakers making a big move this offseason, and while adding someone like Grant isn't necessarily a major headlining, steal, it is certainly one of the moves that could improve the Lakers in the offseason, and ready for the next season. Now, again, this is the Lakers we're talking about. So knowing these Laker fans and knowing how they act and knowing the, perception that they give and just how much they like to hype up their players, I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of hype around him if this trade ends up going through, and there's going to be a lot of expectations, and then once the season hits, those expectations are going to come crashing down, and Jeremy Grant doesn't meet the moment, because that's just the cycle that the Lakers have gone through. And that's really it happened with Westbrook, and a lot of people would like to say that when it happened with Westbrook, the lineups just didn't really fit his play style. But let's face it, Russell Westbrook wasn't playing his best either. So I don't really think it would have been a problem. I don't really think the lineup was a problem. I think Russ was an even bigger problem than the fact that the lineup didn't work out. But that's a conversation for another time, and I don't really want to dwindle on Russell Westbrook and his time with the Lakers, because it was a mistake. Let's face it. That was a very, very big disappointment in LeBron James's career, because he was the one who had the idea of bringing Russ on the squad, and that would prove to be one of the biggest mistakes ever. And so this is sort of why I don't really agree with let's try and get a big time player on the roster, because it just doesn't end up working out for them. And I really would have much rather them go the route of acquiring multiple players that could fill in multiple roles, because that was ultimately how they ended up winning the championship in 2020. But I digress, because I am not the Lakers front office and I cannot make these decisions. And does Jeremy Grant, does he really make that much of a difference? Again, like I said, he is a good player in a small market. I don't really know how that's going to translate in the bigger market of LA, because there is a lot of pressure playing with LeBron on top of the pressure of being a Los Angeles Laker. When you're a Laker, you have to represent that purple and gold. And if you do not represent that purple and gold as well as the Laker fans think you are going to get a lot of backlash from the rest of the media, and you're going to be a huge scapegoat, especially since you're playing with LeBron now, where everyone would much rather scapegoat the other players as opposed to, either maybe trashing on LeBron or trashing on Anthony Davis. Now, I'm not saying that they deserved to be talked down upon as they played as if they should, but there is a lot of times where the third option of that team, whether it be D'Angelo Russell, whether it be Russell Westbrook, or whether it be someone else, is going to get a lot more blame than the main players on the team. But that's basically all I have for you on this third segment. So now we will go ahead and go into the fourth segment, where we talk about DeMar DeRozan and where he could end up going after, this free agency. So I will be right back after this short break. Be sure to stay tuned.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC. to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.